Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Ryan Malo. We hope you enjoyed today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to talk about movie number 200 something. I have no idea. I barely know what it is today. I know that Mike Whildin picked it, and it is Toy Story, 1995's historic breakthrough movie for Pixar. I'll just let you go ahead and run with it, Mike. What made you pick Toy Story and run with it?
Let's see. Well, I wanted to originally, when we were in this category, I wanted to find something. I'm repeating this. I know you guys read the text, but wanted to find something from Winnie the Pooh that would be like kind of a curveball, like like maybe there would be some kind of fantastic movie under the you might also like thing, but no, nothing. Just a really like even shittier Mickey Mouse horror movie. So there's that.
Thank you,
But
Mike,
yeah, I was just
for
looking
not
through.
picking the shitty Mickey Mouse
I
movie. Thank you. You're a hero.
No, let's okay. So,
It's technically
anyway,
it's a technically a Steamboat Willie one because Steam or Willie or not Willy Wonka, Mickey Mouse is
shut up, nerd.
yeah.
So,
That's fair.
anyway, yeah, I just when I went to Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, I found Toy Story. I found a lot of epic animated movies under that section for Into the Spider-Verse, but Toy Story came up and it's one of my favorite movies. As a kid, I used to have like a TV that had a VCR like in it, so I could set it on a sleep timer, and so I would just fall asleep to this movie regularly. Um, could probably quote most of it just by heart. So anyway, it's been a while since I've pulled out the good old wheel,
Oh, the wheel.
but here we are.
By the way, the research team let us know that it is movie number 218.
218. All right. Here we go. First, I would like to hear from
Dan
Dan.
Sears.
Is Dan late?
Yep.
Dan
he's,
is not going to make it, unlike
we would all
my
like to hear from
team
Dan
on the
Sears.
team. That's awesome. Stayed
Yeah.
on
All
time
right.
and won the game.
Well, we're gonna hide that slice. Let's try again. The wheel is going great right now. We'll hear from
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith.
All right. Toy Story, seen this a million times. Big Disney fan. We're actually going to Disney World over spring break, so I will visit Toy Story Land and we will
Nice.
we will ride the Slinky Dog and do all those fun things. I don't know how much as far as a movie there is to talk about. I guess there's a bit. I mean, first big Pixar film, right? Um, which started obviously the monster that is Pixar now. The movie itself, it was I would say I don't know, I'd go back in your Wayback Machine, think about 1995. It was pretty original, right? Toys coming to life and fighting or not fighting, but trying to save.
Well, some fighting.
There's some fighting, yeah. So I guess yeah, pretty unique in that so a lot of uniqueness, great voice acting, obviously they got the good crew going. Tom Hanks was just still in the middle of his run as just unstoppable. So I in my brain I always think of, oh, maybe this saved Tim Allen's career, but it really didn't, because he was still doing Home Improvement in 95, I'm pretty sure. And so then you kind of see this, like, he does a good one, he does a bad one, Jungle to Jungle. He does a good
How
one,
dare you?
he does a good one, Santa Claus. He does a bad one, I don't even know what other movies he's in. But I thought for sure like this was like, oh, this reinvigorated his career, but it really didn't. It just was a blip on the radar for him. And then he ended up doing some good stuff. I thought Santa Claus was good, and Galaxy Quest was great.
When
Whatever.
was that? Was Galaxy Quest before this?
No, it was
After.
It was
It was
after.
after.
I think Santa Claus was technically before Toy Story. I think it was like the year before. So he had a couple of hot years. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But as far as the movie goes, it was unique in all those aspects, right? A movie, blatantly made for children, but with enough elements of adult humor, and like they really started this idea of these parents are bringing their kids to the movies. Let's appeal to them. Let's make them like it too. And I thought they did a pretty good job with that. Um, yeah, I believe the first fully digitally animated movie on record. So they
Mhm.
broke some ground there too. Um, and spawned multiple spin-offs and sequels, and they're making another one. So Toy Story 5 is coming out real soon.
Yeah.
Next year, I think. But yeah, so a great pick. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot to say. I love all things Disney, so this movie's definitely one of those that if it was on, I would leave it on. Um, so, and we can talk more about ins and outs, but yeah, great pick, man. I think if you were gonna pick something animated and whatever, Pixar is a good choice, and the very first Pixar seems like a decent thing to put on our list of movies we've watched. So, yeah, good pick, and I'll fill in later as people talk, I'm sure. So,
Perfect. Yeah, that was actually the other big reason I picked this was I feel like there's hopefully some meat on that bone as far as just like what this movie meant for the movies that came after. I mean, Pixar is a huge chunk of the box office, and DreamWorks obviously has some too, but just that genre is enormous, and it all started with Toy Story. Um, it's a silly question, I guess. Do you have a favorite character?
oh, a favorite character. As far as humor goes, I liked T-Rex. Um, that's that Vicini voice, right? That's Vicini. So
Yeah.
I always
With
find
Wallace Shawn and
yeah, and his interactions with the pig who's not Norm, um
Cliff Clavin.
Cliff, yeah. I said no. I watched something anyway. Cliff Clavin,
Ratzenberger.
yeah, Ratzenberger. And I do love like moving forward how that whole crew just is always in Pixar. Like it's hard to watch a Pixar movie without at least two or three of those people showing up and doing some sort of bit or cameo or full voice. So I love that about it. Seems like they have a lot of fun. Um, which who knows how often they're actually in the same room with each other. I don't know how that works production wise, but they seem to have a good time doing it. To the point of they even make blooper reels for an
right.
animated film, which obviously you wouldn't do that, but I find that pretty funny.
Yeah, especially like Ratzenberger, I think just has a funny voice in general.
Hmm.
And he, I through that first like 10 years or so when Pixar was, churning out all those classics. I mean, Monsters Inc. and Bugs Life, and yeah, he was in everything.
Yep.
I'm sure there are a couple of other ones too, but yeah, um, awesome. Well, let's see. Next up, I would like to hear from Tim Larson.
Well, that was like the last click on the Wheel of Fortune wheel right there. Okay, so Toy Story. What was fun for me watching this is unlike those of you who are probably dads or were younger when this was out. I've only seen it like once, um, and so I've also seen like Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 like once. So I'm waiting for what's the girl's name that's like the Woody girl, Jessica or something.
Jesse.
And there's a pony that shows up at one point. Like I was waiting for all these characters to show up, and I was like, "Who is this tramp little Bo Peep think she is?" When Jessie comes home, she's gonna be pissed. So I had the story all tangled up with other stories, which was fun. Um, I kept waiting for scenes like I know there's in one of the movies they break into a toy store, and there's all kinds of Buzz Lightyears in the toy store somewhere. And so I kept waiting for these things to happen. I was like, how are they going to get from this pizza place to this toy store? This is quite the stretch here, you know. So I really enjoyed rewatching this from the start, which was really cool. Um, love I mean, Annie Potts plays a pretty hot little Bo Peep. I'm just gonna say it. I think she stole some scenes there. Tom Hanks is, in my opinion, just an American treasure. Like, what does he do that's not good? I mean, it's to the point where it's old now. Like, oh, okay, Tom Hanks did a movie and it's great and he's great in it. Whoop de doo. He's just fantastic in everything he does, and I like every bit of it. Um, let's see. I looked in the my thoughts are a little scattered here. My whole life's a little scattered here this week. Billy Crystal was up for the role and turned it down. This is my favorite trivia thing that I saw right before I got on here.
Regrets
He's
it. He
he's
regrets it so
yeah,
much.
he saw the movie and he's like, that's the biggest mistake I've ever made. So
For Woody?
Lasseter, uh, Buzz Lightyear, I think, or maybe it was Woody. I think it was Woody. Um, he turns it down, and then Lasseter calls him and his to offer him a part in Monsters Inc. You know, where he famously plays the little eyeball there. And
Wazowski.
his wife answered the phone and said, "John Lasseter's on the phone for you." And he picked up the phone and said, "Yes." He didn't even listen to him. He's like, "Yes, I fucked up. I'll be in this one." And I love that movie too. So I'm really glad you picked it. The music is pretty prevalent in this movie. Like there's a lot of action scenes, and it's John Williams type music, which is kind of fun.
Glad you
Action
said.
scenes
I'm
are
glad you
great.
mentioned that.
Some of the animation you can tell it's the first Pixar movie, you know, early on you can kind of see it. But it doesn't matter because this is the first one, you know. And I was gonna say, maybe I'm talking to the older generation here. So that's me and Aaron. Um, do you do you guys remember when Pixar was just coming out, like before Toy Story was even in the theater, as a preview before, like if you went to see another movie in 1994, 1995, they were doing a Pixar preview commercial where the lamp would jump up and then jump
That's
on
where
the
the
thing and
lamp
then
came from.
turn.
Yeah.
Um,
It was a
I
short.
remember
It was just like cartoons before movies.
yeah,
It was a
yeah,
cartoon.
and I remember seeing it like, what is this? What's going on here? And then Toy Story comes out, and then now, of course, we all know what it is, and it's still part of the logo. But it was a cool little short film in between the previews, and I didn't really get it at the time, and then it all comes back together later. So, um, they did an entire rollout as a company of, hey, just so you know, we're taking over the movie industry. Well, you guys can, get your popcorn. We're about to take over everything. So great
And they
story about
did.
the company itself. Really creative story plot and fun humor. And I'm glad you picked it. I enjoyed watching it again. I'll think about watching the second one and see if we see that pony in there or not.
The second one, I think it sounds like that's the one you had in your head for a lot of it. So on the music, I don't know. I feel like people make fun of Randy Newman. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like I've heard people kind of make fun of Randy Newman a lot. But he was perfect for this.
Oh
Family
yeah,
Like
Guy.
this
Pretty good.
movie, like with he and Toy Story were what's that?
I was sorry to jump. I was just saying, Family Guy did a pretty good number on Randy Newman. That
Yeah.
was, it's good.
Yeah,
I don't think it's disrespectful, but it's definitely funny.
I've always loved Randy Newman.
yeah,
Whoever's saying bad things, you send them to me. I'll talk to
fair enough. But yeah,
him.
uh
I'll see you after the meeting.
I just like he fit perfectly in this movie just as far as the music went. And then like the music with the scenes where it wasn't a Randy Newman song like you were saying had like kind of that John Williams-ish feel to it, and it's like they did a lot of they really choreographed the music well with this movie, which they could because it's animated and they can do whatever they want. But um like when like Buzz is like climbing up the railing and he's like getting ready to like dive off the thing. There's a point where like in beat, like he hits the button and you hear the button and the wings come out like on beat with the song, and it's just everything is just in sync, and it's very, very well done. All right, next up, let's hear from Aaron Lashbrook.
Thanks, Wheel. See where Tim was talking about. Haven't watched it in a long time. My kids are 20 and 22. Didn't realize it was 30 years old. and how much it came out before. See, I associate it with my kids because it was right around that time that we were doing my first son's born. We start collecting the Disney VHS tapes. You got the giant plastic,
Oh, those are legendary.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The edges were all trashed, those of us that had them, you understand. They weren't built to last, those Disney cases, not like the strong black ones that followed that were more just generic, that everything else came in. The Disney had to do everything their own way. And they didn't fit in any cases or holders or anything.
Yeah.
You had to stack them up outside or on top of it. But anyway, so those they had a life as these movies, the Disney Pixar movies, had a life as VHS tapes and DVDs. Didn't quite make it to Blu-ray. Didn't have to purchase them in a third media form because the kids were out of it. But it was in heavy rotation from 2002 to 2008, 9. I personally have only seen this one and 2. I've never seen 3 or 4. One of the things I think Tim mentioned that I really wanted to focus in on was, it sucks to say, but how bad a lot of the CG, the animation was, especially
it looks
Scud the
very
dog.
dated. Oh, it looks very dated.
Looking back on that dog coming up the stairs, it's almost like what we see now is, you'll see it on a TikTok or a reel or whatever. Somebody will have some footage of video game in development, or a scene that never, was built out in a Marvel movie or whatever. But you've got these just horribly animated, and just
Remember
his
the Ally
hair.
McBeal baby? Remember
Pardon?
that thing? Remember the
Oh,
Ally
right.
McBeal baby?
Yeah.
Or the original Sonic the Hedgehog before they changed him.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was still like
That was
Literally
different, but
hilarious.
like, yeah.
Yeah. The one,
Um,
Aaron, that jumped out to me was the truck coming out of the sandbox when the toys are turning on Sid, like the sand falling off the truck. I was like, ooh, this looks like a bad video game right
Right.
here in this scene.
that when the dog was sleeping at the bottom of the stairs when they were in Sid's house, and it looked like he was like carved from wood and his hair was painted on him. And then oh,
He
and
did look like a lizard a little bit, didn't he?
kinda. And the only his shoulders and hips moved. There was no elbows or wrists in the dogs, or in the dog in Scud. The asphalt when they were catching up to the moving van, it really jumped out at me because at first I thought, oh, knowing how things progressed, with hair and water, those are big ones in the animation. I thought, I was like, oh, they did a really good job on the asphalt, but then I just noticed it was like a repeating pattern, so it wasn't as good as I thought. Like they did a section really good and then just, stamped it out. I don't know, it was little things like that. But then there was other things that were, then they would cut to Buzz or whatever, and there'd be like a perfect glare on his helmet. And it's like, I get you only have so much computing power to work with, and you chose to put it in your main, characters.
Isn't it real quick before you continue? Isn't that fascinating though? Just like seeing the original Pixar movie and seeing like how far they've come and like what that used to look like. Because back then it was like, look at these graphics, but just I kind of enjoy that when you go back and see the ones where it's like, oh, that's like not as good as as it is now, but I don't know, it's got a little bit of a charm to it, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I think it's absolutely realizing, going back and looking and realizing and appreciating how we got from here to here to here to where we are now. Each one has to happen, and each one needs to be successful in order for them to make the next one. So the story was great. I noticed it years ago watching it. This wasn't a big epiphany of, how much Woody acts like a bitch. He's not a good guy. He's not in this one, immediately gets jealous. And it's not good. It's not a good look. So take that for what it's worth. Um, Buzz being the kind of the lovable idiot, not realizing, that he is a toy. All that's so great. Um, Other animated kids movies do a thing about like having inside jokes or little naughty wink wink nudge nudge, um, double entendre, stuff like that to keep parents involved, or to I I mean, this kind of maybe had a little with the Bo Peep stuff, but I liked that. I thought the actual toys were geared towards me. Like, I guarantee I had that. It was red, but that shitty race car, that shitty, um, good. I loved it. But it wasn't like what you see now on TV or even what people had back then. It was like a starter remote control car, you know, fairly crappy suspension. It was just one thing that came out of a box. There was you couldn't upgrade it at all. But like, I had that exact one in red. Um, Other things like that. A lot of the toys seemed like older, as far as, you know, when they came out, when they were played with. Green Army Men, like my kids never had Green Army Men. That wasn't
Yeah,
even
the
a
etch
thing
and
anymore.
sketch and the talk and speak, whatever that thing is. Those
Yeah,
were
the speak and
definitely
spell.
our generation. Is that what it's
Yeah.
called? Speak and spell?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know what theirs was, but I had, I don't know if they were pretty good with name brands on everything, weren't they?
That was an
I think
ET
so.
also, speaking
Yeah. But yeah, I think mine was red.
Also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say I just noticed this. I got home with like an hour and a half to kill before the group. I was like, I'll watch the movie again just to kind of get prepared, And so I've watched it twice in the last couple of weeks. I just noticed today that the duck, when you're in Sid's, like all of Sid's like misfit, re-put together toy, the little duck that like, takes the light bulb out of the thing, its head is a Pez dispenser.
Right.
yeah.
And I only noticed that, like, I just thought it was just a piece of whatever, but I saw like the little ridges of the Pez, the name. I was like, wait a second, 30 years, and I just caught it today.
And there were a couple other. So I was just going to point out, like the metal erector set. I don't think that's been sold since the 80s.
Right.
Um,
That's a great point. That's the adult
I
hook.
think that's
That's a
the
great
adult
point.
hook.
Yeah.
But I had just said, and you talking about the Pez dispenser, they didn't use GI Joe. There was Combat Carl who got blowed up.
Yeah.
And is there any background of eventually, because in Toy Story 2 they get a Barbie, but was Bo Peep supposed to be a Barbie? Was that ever
Yes.
mentioned? And Mattel wouldn't, sign off on it or whatever. So now
Yes.
I wasn't thinking of that until just now.
Barbie was supposed to have a more prominent role in this movie. In fact, the RC car scene at the end, that was supposed to be Barbie in her Corvette or convertible or whatever.
Oh,
But
sure.
But you're right. A lot of it is Mattel just wouldn't play ball. And they're like, this is below us. And then all of a sudden,
I
this blows up.
We
Yeah,
could have
Mattel and
sold
Billy
so
Crystal
many
are over there
12-inch
going, "This is a
G.I.
stupid
Joes."
idea."
Well, but the difference is that, well, I guess it's not different, is that Mattel was like, yeah, we're not fucking this up again. We'll get in on Toy Story 2 and subsequently Toy Story 3, where she's much more of a prominent role. And Billy Crystal's still got the scraps of Monsters Inc., which that's still a good Pixar movie, but it's not Toy Story.
right. I lost my train of thought. Keep going, Aaron.
Oh, I mean, that was about it. The music, I love the music. Randy Newman, he rubs me the wrong way. Uh, Works for where it works. He's good for a baseball movie or, Toy Story. But the music overall, phenomenal. The story, the voice acting, I don't think there's nothing to poke holes in other than going back and like mildly shitting on the animation, which, comparing it to 30 years later,
That's not fair.
Not
Yeah.
even fair.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's fairly, and the scores prove it. It's pretty much a perfect movie.
Tim, I'll come back to you with this one too. But Aaron, do you have a favorite character?
Yeah, I mean, T-Rex was mine.
Yeah.
And in the montage when Buzz has him, perk up and sit right, and then he gets the big roar. I felt good for him. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just the I don't know, the wimpy character that finds his voice, kind of, because he's kind of standing up at the end, and everybody tends to flip flop back and forth because they don't know which way to go on Woody, because did he kill Buzz? Did he, they see him for the terrible person he is, but then eventually let him back. Well, not in the truck, but they're trying to get him in the truck. So if I had to pick a second, it'd be Potato Head. So
Well, as a dinosaur nerd, obviously I always loved Rex, but I just, you know, seeing it more recently, just as an adult, you can't. I mean, Don Rickles is as Potato Head. Like, how can you go wrong? Just as
Right.
far as the humor goes, he has so many great lines that right at the beginning when he does the Picasso joke and Ham like doesn't get it. I still think one of the best disses you can give another human being is "you uncultured swine." I love that line so much. But he's got so many great lines that just just crack me up. And you're talking about the couple, Matt, I think mentioned this too. It's like, there a couple little nods for the adults and everything. And I love the point about like the toys were made for you guys. I hadn't even thought about that, to be honest with you. That's fantastic. Um, but as far as like some of the jokes for the adults, a lot of those happen when they're on the bed and they first meet Buzz. Um, the fantastic line of like there's like, oh, the word you're looking for is Space Rangers. Like, the word I'm looking for, I can't say because there's preschool toys present,
Yeah.
which is just like for
Yeah.
this movie, fantastic. Um, but yeah, awesome.
now, if you wanted to
And
go
Tim, I didn't ask.
Toy Story 2 favorite character would 100% be Wheezy, the penguin, because that was my youngest, who's 20 now. That was, I mean, he had stuffed animals, he had squeaky toys. He latched onto that character, and so it was a big deal in our house. So for a lot of years.
That's super cool.
That's great.
Yeah. Um, that's fantastic. Tim, by the way, I didn't ask you. Who do you have a favorite character in this?
Well, I would say Woody, but now that I've learned that he's a bitch, I can't go with Woody. Then the
What
second one I
What
want
do
to
you
go
like
with
about
is
Woody in this, though?
the second one I want to go with is Little Bo Peep, but I'm starting to worry about how much I've brought her up, and I might have to go see a therapist afterward. So I'm gonna go with the sergeant, played by Arlie Ermy.
Emily
Um,
Ermy.
what is it?
Emily Ermy, I believe.
Emily. I looked it up and I got an R. I don't know. But he's the drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket, of course, and just him in that role. It just you hear him and you're just like, this is awesome. This is just awesome having him deliver lines in that role. So I would go with him as a standout favorite.
Well, like, what do you like Woody, just for the sake of, a different view here?
I mean, it's again Tom Hanks is. I'm just such a big fan of everything he puts into every role, and the fact that Woody is kind of the leader and has to kind of he takes the big fall, right? It happens on accident. Everybody's judging him a little more harshly than should have because he didn't do it on purpose. But so there's a redemption kind of struggle for our main character. So I like that.
There are a lot of like good themes and lessons in this. Just, character growth and, lessons about jealousy and friendship and uh just believing in who you are, or
Yeah.
accepting yourself for who you are, accepting others for who they are, that kind of thing. Like there are a lot of really good stories in this.
I will say that
Um,
as little Bo Peep walks away and says, "I'm only a couple of blocks away," she turns her back and she puts a little extra sway in the walk. That's all I'm gonna say.
See, I
Like
just
five,
noticed
that's
that
like 5 times, man.
there was a stack of 3 blocks. I thought that's
Right.
that's what I
Yeah,
was
my
focused
eyes were on the
Yeah.
blocks,
I
man.
was focused on the blocks,
Oh, so you're
Yeah.
reading the
not
letters.
the animated
Okay,
ass.
that's good. I'll bring that up to my
Because
therapist.
she said blocks. It's like, hey man, yeah. Just so you know, you haven't. So Tim, you have not seen 3 or 4. You said
No, that was me.
That was Aaron,
that
but
was
I
you.
think
You
I'm in
haven't
the
seen 3 or
same.
4.
I think I'm in the same category. I've heard that Toy Story 3 is really quite something, but I don't think I've ever seen
It's
it.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
3 is absolutely phenomenal. And 4, like so 3 was so good that when I found out they were coming out with 4, I was like upset about it. But then 4 ended up being like pretty good too, and I was like, all right, fine, you know. And I have a story about Toy Story 4 as well, but I'll get to that another time. Let's continue here. Let's hear from Ryan Malo.
All right. Not a fan of the wheel. So it's funny. If I had to pick, like top 5 movies that I could quote, or at least at one time could quote very well, this and Major League, which was also a Mike Wilden pick,
Yeah.
are easily in that group. And the reason for this one is not that so I worked at Target when I was 19, and I worked in music, movies, and books. And so I was stocking shelves and redoing the way things looked and all that stuff. And they had I don't know, a console in the top of in the ceiling that had screens all around. And this movie played on a loop. So, 4 times a week, I watched or listened to this movie 4 times a day, kind of thing, which wasn't horrible at all. Like, it could have been a lot worse. But at one point, like, I knew every word of this movie. Um, that said, I guess mainly because I listened to it and didn't watch or didn't notice the writing credits on this. Joss Whedon and Joel Cohen. That is amazing to me. And then obviously Lasseter, but like, that's crazy. I had no idea. I was kind of amazed that we had 2 Don Rickles movies in a row. That was fun. There was I only had a couple of little weird observations. The baby was in the front seat. That was, I guess, 90s. I
Yep.
don't remember that even at all. Like, that's still weird. Gas was $1.29 or $1.39 when they were there. Some might call it an Easter egg, but the toolbox said Binford Tools. That's kind of fun.
I
And the
noticed
fact
that too. I like that.
Yeah, the fact that they lost RC's remote. I was just kind of curious, future ramifications. I guess, I don't know if in Toy Story 2 or beyond, they had it back. I've watched all of them and liked all of them. We took, girls to the theater and stuff like that, I guess, for the later ones. I'm trying to think of, at this point, there's not a ton different. As far as favorite character, you guys saw the picture. So Buzz is high on my list. I just love his commitment, even after the fact, like, he goes through the dark, period, and he's Mrs. Nesbit, and then comes out of that, and he's still, that committed. I definitely appreciate that. Resonates. But Potato Head, I mean, the fact that it's Don Rickles and he gets all the fun lines and all of that. But the visual stuff that they get to do with them, like the Picasso thing, or we watched it last week, and my youngest watched with us, and she's 17 now, and she's watched this, a bunch of times since she was a kid. But when he took out the lips and was like kissing his ass, making fun of whoever was kissing somebody's ass,
Yeah.
she thought that was hilarious and just never noticed it. And there's so many moments like that as well, that they, he takes his eyes out to look over, over people, like just stuff that is kind of absurd that is a lot of fun. I'm sure they had a lot of fun with.
What's with him? Laser envy.
Right. Yeah, that's a good line. I like the way you said too that the word I'm thinking of I can't say because there's preschool toys present, but yeah, it's good stuff. The aliens and like the claw. I don't, we didn't touch on
The
that.
claw's great.
Yeah, just arcades in general has a huge soft spot for me. I will, we talked about this a little bit as well. Just some of the animation, like when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. Like the little sister, her hair and that, like it's tough. But that said,
all of the humans' faces, with the exception of Andy, are like a little terrifying.
Even Andy.
Yeah.
And it was probably a weird choice because Sid was supposed to be unnerving, and so just trying to figure that out. But yeah, such a good movie and such a I really did like what you mentioned in the text about how how revolutionary it was, and it's crazy to think that it's been 30 years. But yeah, good stuff.
How of all days is the neighbor's dog not barking while Melo's talking today?
Well, the neighbor kid came home. You got to hear all of that.
Okay.
While this is going on. The dog was going nuts last night when I was hanging out with my D&D crew. So I don't know. Maybe it's barked out.
Yeah, I have a loud neighbor dog downstairs now too. But I don't know. I guess because of the microphone, you guys don't have to hear it. I don't know. Yeah, the 30th anniversary thing is God, I hadn't even put that together until, a couple of us have said that. One like little thing that kind of irks me about like, and this, you Star Wars fans will kind of understand this pretty well too. When they kind of go back and change things, and they didn't really do that in the movie, but I think it's just because I watched this on the VHS so much. The way the movie originally starts, they have the logo, and the old logo is the castle, and it would like zoom out, and then they have the little star go over it or whatever. And the song for the opening of this movie starts as that logo is coming out. And they, now they have to do their big giant castle with all the weird shit, like everything flying around because it looks better and everything. But they're playing their big, beautiful, Disney song or whatever to bring out the logo they have now when you watch it on Disney Plus or on like a Blu-ray or whatever. And then they've got the little Pixar thing coming over, and then suddenly it just goes into the, which is the end of like the little, and it's only like a 7 or 8 second song or whatever with that logo in the original, but it's like it just suddenly skips to it, and it for me, just because I watched it from that very beginning so many times as a kid, that's like a little jarring in a weird way.
Mike's like, you've ruined my childhood.
I like not ruined, but just just kind of nudged on it a little bit. Yeah, God, Potato Head has so many great lines. Okay, Hilty, let's bring us home. I'm. Oh wait, did you have anything else?
I did. I forgot. There was one more thing that I forgot because I also mentioned that this in Major League, and I think this is what Aaron was alluding to, and I couldn't remember. Right? So that the Cuyahoga River or whatever song, that's a Randy Newman deal. It's so weird.
That's exactly what I saw. I thought you said that on purpose.
No, like I had it already written down, and then when you said it, I meant to mention it, and it's just so funny that that's the case, that he's in both of them prominently.
And one other thing I didn't mention before Hilty gets going is 81 minutes. I mean, come on. We went from the longest movie to the shortest movie. It's got to be one of the shortest. I didn't look at,
Did we talk about the Randy Newman cameo in Everything All at Once? I don't remember the whole title. Did we talk about that?
Everything Everywhere All at
so.
Once.
Yeah. He was Raccacoonie. They remember the
What?
remember they went to the
Yeah.
universe with
Yeah.
the Ratatouille, but it was Raccacoonie. He was the voice of Raccacoonie.
Oh, okay.
And he did it because the movie made his wife laugh. They sent them a copy of it and it made her laugh, so he said he would do it. I couldn't remember if we had talked about that or not. Because we were talking
How
so much
old is
about
he
Randy
at this
Newman.
point? I'll look that
I
up
don't.
while Hilty's doing his thing.
He looked old 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Hilty, bring us home.
So I saw this movie in theaters when I was young and was just blown away by it. And this was among one of the movies that I was most looking forward to showing my kids as well. So this movie has a very special place in my heart. Um, the the thing about it looking dated, yes, absolutely. It looks very dated. And especially when you compare it to Toy Story. So if you look at the progression of all four movies, the first Toy Story, it's the first, so it gets a little bit of grace, and then it gradually improves. And the animation in Toy Story 4 is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Like the scene in like the opening sequence in that first in Toy Story 4, the animation looks amazing. It's among one of the best animated movies or best animation anything out there. The movie is fine, I guess. It's completely unnecessary and it's a cash grab at the end of the day. And that's the cynic in me talking about that. But here's a question that I'm gonna ask everybody, and I know everybody hasn't seen all of these movies. Where does this rank for Toy Story movies in terms of all four of them? Like, where would you put this? Number
I
two?
mean, for me, yeah, for me, it's got a special place in my heart too. So it has to be one for like sentimental reasons, but just as far as quality of movie, it's got to be two because I mean, it's got to be second. This one that we did has to be second because Toy Story 3 is just, I mean, it's, I like, yeah.
So you don't put Toy Story 2 before this one? Because for me, it'd be number 2, and I've only seen 2, and Toy Story 2 would be number 1, and Toy Story 1 would be number 2. And from what everybody's saying, Toy Story 3 is the best. So that's going to bump this one to 3 in my mind already before I've ever seen 3.
Mhm.
Because that's
After
where
you see 4, that'll probably go to last.
that's
4 is still good. Don't get me wrong. Like 4 is still like very good, but
see, and this is
you're right.
this
It's a
is
cash
where
grab.
for Aaron, yeah, that's exactly where I'm at because I would put Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3 above this one because this one the big emotional moment, and that's a theme that you see in particular with all Pixar movies, is this self-actualization or this identity crisis that a lot of these characters have. The second and third Toy Story, they have bigger emotional punches as well as having just a fun story. The third one is a jailbreak movie. The second one is a rescue mission, and this one is let's get back home type of thing. So even with a simple plot, uh, it still packs a lot. Like I'm Aaron, I'm glad that you mentioned the 81 minutes thing because it is Pixar's shortest movie to date, and it's still among one of the best quality because to pack that much in such a short amount of time, like movies can't do that nowadays because there's so much left to do. There's so much to do a lot of times with movies that it can't. So my favorite character is Mr. Potato Head by a mile. He has some of the best lines. My he's so passive aggressive and it's great. One of my favorite lines is when they're going through at the beginning and one Sarge goes, "Oh, somebody got Andy bed sheets," and Potato Head goes, "Who invited
Who
that
invited that
kid?
kid?
Like
Yeah.
what's up with that?" And it's just little lines like that throughout the course of the whole movie. He's just such an asshole to everybody, and that's what I appreciate. And
And
even
he's an instigator. Like as Woody's jealousy is growing a little bit when they first meet Buzz, like he can see it and he's just pushing those buttons,
Yep.
like making it just
Yep.
worse and worse and worse. And he loves it.
Mrs. Potato Head. Mrs. Potato Head.
oh yeah. Close
Okay,
second
a laser.
though.
How come you don't have a laser, Woody? Like it's just yeah, he's a dick.
A
Not a
close
laser.
second is is Slinky. I think Slinky Dog is just a fun character and voiced by Ernest Jim Barney as well. Just and I read some trivia that Slinky Dog was the only character or the only toy that was not in production at some point before the movie was created or before the movie was released. Because they released a bunch of toys of Woody and Buzz, which they didn't exist beforehand, but Slinky Dog, they were like, we don't need to make this. And then that turned out to be a giant mistake because everyone was clamoring for that. And then they just decided to release it afterwards. Because merchandising, right? It's all about merchandising. Um, I love the music in this. It bums me out that this lost both uh, original score and original song to Pocahontas, which Disney was a juggernaut at that time at the Oscars. So yeah, that makes sense that it would lose to that. But I still think that this was a much more worthy movie to give this those Oscars to. But whatever, it is what it is. Um, Kind of piggybacking off of my question about where do you rank all the Toy Stories, where do you rank this among Pixar movies in general? Of the ones you've seen, at least.
Now I got to go look up Pixar movies.
Yeah, I need a list.
I don't have a working list in
When
my
you
head.
look through the list of Pixar movies, other than some stuff recently, like there's not really a bad movie on there. You could argue that some of the sequels weren't great.
That's what I was gonna. You're gonna get in the weeds with some of the ones and twos and threes, but like all the ones, like
Yeah, until really like I don't know, man.
I think the only bad Pixar movie that's come out is The Good Dinosaur. That's it. And I know Wilden, I'm sorry that a
Yeah,
dinosaur.
you're right.
So
My kids love that movie, by the way.
it's they're wrong, but that's okay.
Wow.
The
Okay.
it's
That
it's
just
dumb and they
happened.
should be held back.
That
It's-
definitely just happened.
but it's also but the animation is beautiful in that. I will give them that, but it's a weird movie, but yeah, and this is also where like everyone said, ranking series above just like individual movies becomes difficult because in terms of significance, in terms of just plot characters, this has got to rank pretty high up there. But if you take the series as a whole, it's easily number one or number two. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a thought exercise.
I'm gonna need to
To
fill out a
Yeah,
bracket to answer that question. I just looking at
Yeah.
a list real quick,
Tim,
man.
Tim,
Finding
get on a
Nemo and
bracket.
the Incredibles and Up. It's gonna take me a while to answer
And
that
even
question.
in a lot of those, like Lightning McQueen, when you first meet him, it's great. I think the second one's better. This, when you first meet the characters, it's great. Second one's better.
Mhm.
You know, um, just because they don't have to, and not like there was a lot of introduction or backstory or world building in this one, but in the other ones, I think there were.
Mhm.
But like, which one is it? Because studios put out very similar movies at the same time. These guys were A Bug's Life, right? Not the other bug one. Not
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ants.
yeah.
I think
Ants.
So
DreamWorks was Ants.
right, which
Mhm.
both I like both. I liked, but A Bug's Life better. But I don't know. They're all good.
Well, and the because this movie came out a very similar time, or if not, like a little earlier than the movie Small Soldiers, which again about toys that kind of come to life, but it's weird. That movie's very weird, but
I
it's
wanted to like that so much, and man,
Oh, I
yeah.
do like it. And, if I was a kid, I would have loved owning all the toys.
Mhm.
man, I
Like
saw it
those
in the
guys were
theater. I
awesome.
don't know. Tommy Lee
Um,
Jones and Kirsten Dunst.
Mhm.
I see nothing wrong with.
I'm not saying those. I love both of them. I'm just saying. I
Yeah.
remember having a weird feel after that movie. So
That's that's a tough question for me to answer personally too. Again, just hmm, the uh the sentimental attachment to this movie in particular. I'm gonna just rank it, higher naturally. And I know that I am for that reason. But like, like you guys have been saying, there are so many great Pixar movies. But for me, it's kind of the reason, like when people talk about like, oh, which one's better, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, and there are a lot of people that are say like, oh, Better Call Saul is even better than Breaking Bad, and I just like, to me, I can't
That's me.
say that one or the other, because I'm like, there is no Better Call Saul without Breaking Bad. Like it doesn't, it's not the same show if you don't have the entire show otherwise. And it's just, and there's, to me, it's like, just, it's not exactly the same, but it's like Toy Story was the success for Pixar, and it's like, I maybe they could have come up with something else, obviously, like, what if alternate universe, but like, technically there's no Pixar before Toy Story, so it's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to answer that one. Like it has to rank high up there for that reason alone because of how influential it was. But also I just love the movie. So
Um, so kind of similar to what Tim was saying, that Billy Crystal was offered the role, or he was offered the role but declined it. The original drafts of this, they wanted it to be someone where it was like new Hollywood taking over old Hollywood. So they originally wanted Paul Newman as the voice of Woody, and then Jim Carrey as the voice of Buzz Lightyear. And
Wow, would
I
that
don't,
be a different movie?
I
that would
see
be
what
a,
they're doing. Like that
oh
makes
yeah,
sense
because
what they
that's
were trying to push.
absolutely, yeah.
I could see
But
it though.
Paul Newman eventually got on Cars. So there you go. Just another
Mhm.
another actor who was considered for this, that they were like, well, we'll get we'll get him back somehow. Um,
I do love how in a lot of the Pixar movies they have like toys or symbols from this original Toy Story movie. Like they have like the little ball with the star on it that Buzz bounces off of in one of them, and they've
Well,
got like they have just little tiny shout out like callbacks
that
Yeah.
ball's from the
to
original
this.
animation too. That's what the light jumps on and pops.
Oh, right.
So the ball and the lamp are like our Pixar.
Yeah.
um,
I
earlier
think the ball
drafts,
is in everything, isn't it? I'm pretty sure the
yes,
ball is in
yeah,
every movie
the
somewhere.
ball the
You can
ball is in every movie. And then after this, some type of Pizza Planet reference
Mm.
is is in all the Pixar movies as well. It's either that or at least the truck, the Pizza Planet truck is somewhere in a lot of these movies. Um, a lot. I went down a rabbit hole about all the conspiracy theories about where Andy's dad is, and
Yeah.
a lot of them saying like Andy's dad is dead, so that's why that's Andy is using a lot of these toys as coping mechanisms, or like Andy, you know, and like all of these toys came from Andy's dad, so that's why they can all come to life because they have that special connection, I guess. But um, so but the only thing that I could see that was kind of legit was uh, a lot of animators at Pixar said it was just too expensive to animate another human character. Like, okay, that sounds like bullshit. But also considering that the reason, like one major reason why they couldn't get Jim Carrey or Paul Newman is because the budget for this was $30 million. $30 million, which is crazy to think about that because it made like almost $400 million um, during its theatrical release worldwide. So good for them for that.
I don't know if it falls into conspiracy theory or just I didn't notice because I kind of looked this time talking about animating another human character or whatever. Um, I always heard that other than Sid, all the human characters had Andy's face or something like that. Or definitely his mom has like it's the exact same, you know, um, polygon layout or
Mhm.
whatever. And I didn't really notice it, but she had long hair and you only see her face like once or twice real quick. So, but I don't know. I didn't really notice it. But apparently everybody at the birthday party has the same face.
Which I could totally see that. And then in subsequent movies, yeah, the characters' faces look drastically different because the animation got better and they got more money. And it's kind of it's very drastic how different Andy looks in the fourth Toy Story movie versus the first one. If you do side by side comparison, it's actually kind of terrifying. But
In
I
the
mean,
fourth one?
How much time passed
brief between the two, 24 years.
between one
That's
and four?
from wait, are
Oh,
you talking about
Oh,
animation time or our
animation.
time?
No, because I think
Melo? Which what
I'm talking
Melo,
about
what are
in the
you asking?
movie. Like,
oh, in the movie,
How old did Andy go from 9 to
yes,
19?
yes.
oh, that I don't know.
Oh yeah, so
In the
like
in the third
Andy's like
movie,
going
he's
off to
18.
college in the third one. Yeah, he's going off to college, which is fun because it's like he was a little younger than we were at that point. So like I was roughly Andy's age when I went to see this in theater, so I was, extra relatable and everything. And then I was a little older, but it was still like okay, I was, in or coming out of college, something like that as Andy's going into college. And so it was just like, as three came out. So it was just a really
Right.
cool, like, there for the whole ride kind of thing at Andy's level. I
So
don't remember. I only saw four once, but
he aged like 10 years in a real life 24-year span.
Oh, there's a dog.
yeah.
Um, let's see. Other than that, the original drafts of this, I think some of the things that were interesting about the original drafts of this is that um, Woody was supposed to be the villain, which I think coincides with what everybody's saying is that Woody's a bitch. That should be the hashtag for this that I put online is that Woody's a bitch. But yeah, like the original drafts of this were Woody's like the main villain in this. And one could argue, yeah, he kind of is the main villain. And then they added Sid in there to kind of blunt that. And then not only that, original drafts of this wanted Woody to be a ventriloquist dummy. And if that were to happen, I would have hated that. And also subsequently would have said, yeah, he's absolutely the villain. Look at him. He's a ventriloquist dummy. And but they added ventriloquist dummies into Toy Story 4 as a hey, let's make
And they were very creepy.
they were very creepy. And then also, and this is credit, and I think this is where John Lasseter, who is the director of this and kind of shepherded a lot of uh Pixar movies, gets a lot of credit for this, and rightfully so, because he was the one that he originally pitched this to Disney in 1982, but they were like, no, no, we're good. And then they had a string of failures in the 80s, and we're like, okay, fine, let's see what you can do with this. Um, Disney wanted this to be a musical because, of course, they wanted
What
it to
Disney
be a
does, they
musical
do.
because it's Disney. But they were like, no, no, this would not serve the same intended purpose if it was a musical. So they stood their ground, and Disney eventually was like, yep, that was the right call. Thanks for that. And there's a reason why most Pixar movies are not musicals because they think that the story can speak for itself on its own. And
Yeah.
the closest thing that you get to kind of like a legit musical is Coco, and that doesn't even count because it's a difference between a musical and characters just playing music for the sake of the story. So, um, overall, Wilden, great pick. Love this movie. It was great to watch this for the billionth time. Um, but I don't mind watching it because like like it was mentioned, it was quick 81 minutes. And I guess for the last thing, Pixar, bring back the bloopers. The bloopers are great.
Yeah.
And you've got a shitload of money anyway, so
Right.
just just add them back in. Who cares?
Thank you, Hilty. There are a lot of if you really wanted to dive deep, I mean, it's kind of one of those like you get too much into analyzing some of the characters and some of the things about this movie, you get a little shut up nerdish, you know. But there are some interesting like kind of mental and emotional health things to look at here. I mean, as far as Sid, you know, ordering explosives in the mail and blowing up all his toys, and it's like, all right, well, what's going on with him? It seems, when the dog is chasing Buzz into that room and then sees the guy, snoring, the dog runs away. It's like, did he have an abusive father there? Like, what's going on there? The theory with Andy's dad being, not being there. It's just like there's a I feel like there's a lot to dig into if people really wanted to.
How
Yeah,
many
but
of you
you
So
guys,
guys,
the dads in the room, how many kids have multiple locks on the inside of their door?
yeah, that too.
but for you younger guys, you probably don't know the thrill of late night TV and advertisements where you can just order COD. You didn't need a credit card. They would cash on delivery. And
Mhm.
the mailman was just supposed to accept payment from a 9-year-old for a Rambo knife. And he did.
Right.
As long as I had 1995 when he showed up, he didn't care. I mean, it was the fucking Wild West. So Sid getting a bottle rocket, a missile in the mail, I could totally see it because I had a Rambo knife.
I Fair enough. I just he seems like the kind of kid that shouldn't be ordering, just like yeah, no, that's fantastic. When I was little, when I saw this in theaters the first time, I went with a friend whose name was Phil. My mom took the two of us, and then we went to Burger King afterwards, and we got like Toy Story toys and their kids' meals. Um, so that Phil reached out a few years ago when Toy Story 4 was in theaters, and he said, "Hey, let's take your mom to go see this movie, and then we'll take her to Burger King afterwards," which was awesome. What a great gesture from him. So we did that and we had a blast. So like Toy Story 4 is the least of the four Toy Stories for sure, but it's still good and I do have kind of a special place for it as I do with this one. I think you guys mentioned most like we've all mentioned most of the quotes. Potato Head has a lot of them. Hilty, the who invited that kid thing with the bed sheets just gets me every time. Two of them that I do kind of love. I love Rex when they're on the bed and they're like, uh, you know, Buzz goes off on his whole thing of like, oh, I'm from the galaxy of whatever. So he does his whole speech, and they're like, oh, really? I'm from Play School, and I'm from Mattel. Well, I'm not actually from Mattel. I'm actually from a smaller company that was purchased in a big buyout thing, like that little shot at Mattel.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
that was totally intentional as well.
yeah,
Because
I and I love those little things in there like that. And then it's not like a clever line, but the shark when Woody first pops up out of the toy chest and he's like just like getting his breath. He's like, who's got my hat? And the shark pops up wearing his hat. He's like, look, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy, howdy. And like that shouldn't be that big of an insult, but it kind of is. Um, yeah, I always enjoy those. The other thing is there's a look that when Woody shoves Buzz and like opens his helmet and he's doing like the gasping for air thing, where Woody kind of just like half rolls his eyes. He's just watching him looking down, and then he kind of like looks up and he kind of looks over. I like adopted that into my real life. I unknowingly like there are so many times I catch myself like I'll see something just stupid and I'll just kind of be like Like it's just it's a fun expression, I think. This movie also gave me an unrealistic expectation for claw machines. Like I wanted to play claw machines a lot after this and never, had one that like went down, stopped, gripped the thing, and then had a death grip on it and would like try the hardest. Yeah, of course that's not how it actually works. Um, but it's fantastic in the movie though. Um, and then I did kind of think it was funny that the truck driver just doesn't notice the ramp just dragging behind him the whole time. Like, not gonna pick too many holes in this. The movie is what it is. But I thought this last time doing that, I was like, man, at some point, you feel like you'd know. Um,
I love the corporate synergy that they have with the kids listening to the Lion King soundtrack
Yeah.
as well. Like, oh, that's very meta of you. Also,
yeah.
yeah, good for you.
And then yeah, I think Potato Head's I think Potato Head's probably my favorite too. I mean, I do like Woody as well. I do see the growth in his character over time. Obviously, he is a dick and he gets easily jealous. Like there are a lot of like points in this movie where you're like, oh, come on, Woody, don't, but he figures it out, and Buzz goes through his whole identity crisis and he figures stuff out. And it ultimately is a feel good movie. The last thing I guess I have is the Mrs. Nesbit thing is fucking great. I just when he starts doing his little drunk rant, it's like, do you see the hat? Like, just gold, absolute gold. Thank you guys for watching this with me. I was kind of excited to pick this one. This is in one of my my top list of however many top 10, top 20, whatever. But this is up there for sure. So I'm glad we got to talk about it. And it is a revolutionary movie. It's just like I don't it's like you guys have said, like Pixar just took over the movie business. They've had such a huge chunk of the box office now. It's like so yeah, I thought it would be appropriate for a movie group too. But yeah, thanks guys.
All right, so let's throw this over to Aaron. Aaron, it is your pick. We are getting close to the end here on pick a movie that you have already picked. Go to IMDb and have it suggest 12 movies and run with one. So what do you got?
What, the last time we met, so we didn't meet last week, so 2 weeks ago, I think I threw out to Tim in his text messages when he was texting me during this meeting that it was my turn to pick. That I had told him the last time we met that I had it picked. I told you the two movies that I was narrowing it down. None of this rings a bell.
It's starting to, yeah.
Okay. They're both music themed. One came from La La Land. The other one came from both the Intouchables and the Grand Budapest. They're both winners. It's really hard for me to pick. I haven't seen either one. I really wanted to do a, let's find out who's not seen whichever one the most, but I'm not going to do that. That's kind of a cop out. I'm going to go with the Green Book. I don't care if you guys have all seen it. The other one, I'll tell you, I know we usually don't do that. It was Whiplash. Both I really want to see. Both I haven't seen. What are you doing, Matt?
I'm just laughing. Just laughing. What? I thought maybe somebody might pick it at some point, but
yeah. It was really tough not to pick it, but it came down to I went and watched the trailers, and I actually watched one, watched the other, went back, watched Whiplash, went back, watched. So like I watched both trailers twice, and I'm gonna go with Green Book. So.
All right, the Green Book is next.
That will do it for today's episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves. We hope you did too. Have yourselves a great week. We are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.